Hi, I'm Daniel Thornton, Head of Music and Creative Arts here at Alphacrucis College, and this is an introductory video to the unit Perform Music as Part of a Group. Now, I'm a pianist by trade. That was the first thing that I focused on when I was at the Conservatorium, and then I went on to a composition major. But for a while there, my second instrument was a trumpet. And as a composer and as a trumpeter, I really appreciated the ability, the added wonder of playing in a group and not just playing alone. Because when you're playing a piano, you can play the bass, and you know it's a percussive instrument, so you've got percussion and you've got your melody and you've got your harmony on your inner parts, and you can pretty much do everything. And you know that's fun in itself. But performing music as a group, I think, is such a valuable skill to have, and shouldn't just take it for granted that you know what that involves, because there's actually a lot of things that perhaps we don't think about that we would benefit from thinking about when it comes to playing music in a group situation, in a group context. I'm sure you've all experienced those situations where someone just is not getting it, is not in the same space, is off on some other planet. You know, perhaps they're just being so annoying in the rehearsal, and everyone else can see that this is a problem, but they can't see it, or they're unwilling to see it. And so you know, the more we can learn to play as a group, both in the actual performance and in the rehearsing of that, the more opportunities that gives us. People will want to play with us rather than going, oh yeah, do we have to have that person? I guess they're our only bass player, we'll have to use them, or whatever. You don't want that situation. The unit code is, I don't think I mentioned it, CUAMPF404, Perform Music as Part of a Group. So this goes hand in hand with another unit called Rehearse Music for Group Performance, and you'll see how those overlap if you are also doing the other one. But they can be done separately, although I suggest they're good to go together. So there are, in terms of the content, most of this is about practical, about the practice of performance. It's actually about you getting together with whoever it is, your worship team, if it's a church context, or your band, or your little group at school, or wherever it might be, and actually working on these things very practically. So there's not a lot of content in that sense. There are 4 learning outcomes that you are working towards to be able to demonstrate your competency in. One of those, the first one, is perform warm-up routine. It seems like such a simple thing, and yet so often musicians can neglect that, and they can do it to their own detriment. You know, a vocalist who never warms up but then goes straight into, really strenuous vocal pieces can do a lot of damage to their voice. So 1, perform a warm-up routine. 2, apply technical and musicianship skills in performance. So of course you've got to know what those might be, and then you've got to be able to actually implement them. 3, interact with group members. So this is not about me being on stage as a solo performer and there happen to be a couple of other people around me on the stage. No, this is about actually learning to connect and to play as a team, and to find that groove that sits together, and to find that space where we become more than we could be if we were just performing by ourselves. And then the 4th element is evaluate performance. So it's understanding how we've done and how we can improve, and where the strengths and weaknesses are. And often it's in the communication of those that can be quite difficult in a group situation. If you've got a drummer who's constantly slowing down or speeding up, if you still want them to be playing with you. You probably won't yell at them and say, you're an idiot, stop slowing down, speeding up, you're a hopeless drummer. You'll probably find more diplomatic or encouraging ways to get them to improve that area. It might be, hey, look, could we try this with a metronome? Because I feel like we're slowing down, and I don't know whether you're aware of it, but hey, could we try this with you listening to a click track or whatever? There are definitely ways to communicate in a group performance. So the assessments, of which there are 3, there's a group performance record, so essentially a journal that documents when you've performed and what you performed and who you performed with and what the venue was, and then actually looking at the performance criteria, of which there are a whole bunch down here, and identifying where you've actually engaged with those. For example, there's 2.4, performance criteria 2.4 is use stagecraft skills and performing style appropriate to the context of the music and the performance. So if you've got a heavy metal genre where it's so appropriate that you swing your head wildly in performance, then you would note that that's an element of the performance of your stagecraft skills that was appropriate to the context or genre. The second assessment is the performance self and collaborative evaluation. So it's not just you looking at your group and going, how did they do? But it's actually you making sure that you've had a discussion with the whole group and you've gotten their feedback and you've given feedback, and then you summarise that in a document to kind of look at where you've done really well, where you need to improve, those sorts of things. Finally, there is the group performance itself. That's assessment 3, and that requires 3 separate musical group performances, which could be for your class if you're on campus, could be 3 separate YouTube recordings if it's performing to a virtual audience. It could potentially be 3 separate songs in a worship context. So lots of options there, but this is about performing the music as a group, so it needs to culminate in a performance. Well, that's pretty much it for this unit. Probably, if you're doing this unit, you'll also be rehearsing for group performance, and that ties in very closely. And it's kind of nice that if you are rehearsing, that it culminates in a performance. So I would encourage you to think about doing those together if you haven't already thought about that.